Have you ever wondered why the Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most enduring and complex disputes in the world? For many, this question may be a daunting one, laden with a rich tapestry of historical context, clashing ideologies, and deeply personal narratives. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not a simple matter of right versus wrong, but a delicate interplay of historical circumstances, political maneuverings, and human experiences that span over thousands of years. From the time of the Roman Empire through the rise of Zionism in the late 19th century, to the contentious Balfour Declaration and the formation of the State of Israel, each event adds another layer to this intricate saga. And at the heart of it all lies the question: who has the right to the land? It's a complex puzzle with no easy solutions, but don't worry, we're here to unravel it together. So let's dive into the intricate history that has led to the current situation. The roots of the conflict trace back to the Roman Empire, about 2,000 years ago. The region now known as Palestine was once home to a vibrant Jewish community. But in the year 70 AD, the Romans, who held control over the land, expelled the Jewish people. This marked the beginning of a long, painful exile that lasted for over 1,800 years. Throughout this period, Jews dispersed across the globe, creating communities in various countries, yet always yearning for their ancestral homeland. This longing was encapsulated in a movement that began to gain momentum in the late 19th century: Zionism. Zionism, a term coined by Austrian journalist Theodor Herzl, was more than just a political ideology. It was a heartfelt call, a yearning for Jewish self-determination in their ancient homeland, Palestine. The Zionist movement sought to address the widespread anti-Semitism Jews faced worldwide, and presented the creation of a Jewish state as a solution to this enduring problem. Zionism was not without controversy. It was met with mixed reactions, from enthusiastic support among Jews and even some non-Jews, to vehement opposition, particularly from the local Arab population in Palestine who feared they would be displaced. Despite opposition, the Zionist movement persevered, fueled by the collective desire of the Jewish diaspora for a place they could call home, a sanctuary where they could live free from the fear of persecution. It was a dream, a hope, a beacon for Jews worldwide. Yet, as history would reveal, this beacon was not a guiding light for everyone. For the indigenous Palestinian population, the rise of Zionism signaled the looming threat of displacement and loss of their ancestral lands. The stage was set for a struggle that would span decades, a struggle rooted in two peoples' deeply held connection to the same stretch of land. This call for a homeland set the stage for future conflicts. Fast forward to 1917, a single document intensifies the conflict. The British government issues a statement that would forever alter the landscape of the Middle East: the Balfour Declaration. This document, penned by then British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour, expressed the British government's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. It's important to remember that this was during World War I, and Britain was seeking to gain favour with the Zionists to help turn the tide of the war. But this political manoeuvring had far-reaching implications. The controversy lies in the fact that Britain, essentially a foreign power, was making decisions about a land that was already inhabited by an Arab majority. Critics argue that Britain had no right to promise Palestine to anyone, as it was not theirs to give away. Supporters, on the other hand, saw it as a critical step towards a much-needed sanctuary for the Jewish people. This declaration was the British government's endorsement that would have a lasting impact on the region. The year 1948 marked a significant turning point in the conflict. Amidst the tumultuous backdrop of the Second World War's aftermath, the State of Israel was established, a momentous event that fulfilled the aspirations of the Zionist movement and brought joy to Jews around the world. However, this historical milestone was not without its repercussions. Establishing a Jewish homeland in an area long inhabited by Palestinians led to a mass displacement of the Palestinian population. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic, saw over 700,000 Palestinians leave their homes amidst the escalating conflict. Many fled due to fear or were forcibly expelled. Their departure wasn't a temporary dislocation. It turned into a permanent exile, creating a Palestinian diaspora that continues to this day. This mass exodus gave rise to the Palestinian refugee crisis, one of the world's longest-standing and most complex humanitarian issues. The displaced Palestinians found themselves in refugee camps across neighboring countries, including Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. These camps, initially meant to be temporary shelters, have over the decades transformed into semi-permanent homes, often characterized by poor living conditions and limited opportunities. The Nakba isn't merely an historical event, it's a continuing experience for Palestinians, passed down through generations. Each year, Palestinians commemorate this event with marches and protests, expressing their longing to return to their ancestral lands. On the other hand, for Israelis, the establishment of the State of Israel is celebrated as a moment of triumph, the fulfillment of a centuries-long dream for a homeland. The day is marked with festive gatherings and national ceremonies, reflecting on the journey of a people who, after centuries of persecution and diaspora, finally found a place to call home. These contrasting narratives of the same historical event illustrate the deeply ingrained and divergent perspectives that fuel the Israel-Palestine conflict. The establishment of Israel and the Nakba are far from forgotten chapters of history. These events still reverberate in the narrative of the conflict today. A fundamental question at the heart of this conflict is, who has the right to the land? There are varying viewpoints on this issue. Some argue that the Jewish people have a historical right to the land, given their centuries-long presence in the region. This perspective takes into account the ancient civilizations that once flourished here, the rich cultural tapestry woven over millennia, and the enduring connection of the Jewish people to this land. On the other hand, there are those who argue for a right to land based on conquest. This view posits that Israel has a right to the land because it won it in a war. The concept here is that might makes right, and the victor in battle has the privilege of claiming the spoils. However, these rights are not universally accepted and are indeed highly contested. Some argue that there's no such thing as an inherent right to land, proposing instead that all land belongs to everyone, an idea that challenges traditional notions of ownership and sovereignty. Others view the right to land as a colonial concept, a relic of a bygone era that has been used to justify the displacement of indigenous peoples. This viewpoint underscores the often overlooked fact that the creation of many modern states often involved the dispossession of indigenous populations. In the Israel-Palestine conflict, the question of land rights is further complicated by the fact that both Israelis and Palestinians have deep historical and cultural ties to the same land, further fueling the dispute. So who does have the right to the land? The answer is not straightforward and depends largely on one's perspective. What's clear, though, is that the issue of land rights is deeply intertwined with the ongoing conflict, and any resolution will need to address this contentious issue. The concept of land rights is not just complex but also highly contentious. To better understand these complexities, let's look at two other examples: North America and Crimea. In North America, the displacement of indigenous peoples by European settlers is a stark reminder of the controversial nature of land rights. The vast territories we now know as the United States and Canada were originally inhabited by diverse Native American tribes. However, the arrival of European settlers led to the systematic displacement of these indigenous communities. Fast forward a few centuries, and these territories have transformed into recognized sovereign nations, despite their contentious origins. This highlights how the notion of land rights is often shaped by the power dynamics of the colonizer. Now, let's shift our focus to Crimea. Part of the Soviet Union until its dissolution in 1991, Crimea declared independence only to be annexed by Russia in 2014. This act of annexation was widely condemned by the international community, yet it underscored the ongoing relevance of power dynamics in determining land rights. Despite the outcry, the geopolitical might of Russia has allowed it to maintain control over the region. These examples illustrate the power dynamics and complexities involved in the concept of land rights. With these cases in mind, we can see how the Israel-Palestine conflict is part of a larger global pattern of disputed territories and contested land rights. As we can see, the Israel-Palestine conflict is not just about land, it's about history, identity, and power. We've journeyed from the ancient times to the birth of Zionism, the Balfour Declaration, the establishment of Israel, and the Nakba. We've grappled with the complex issue of a right to land, drawing parallels with North America and Crimea. Understanding the history and the nuances of this conflict can lead to more informed and empathetic discussions. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey.